Ecuador, a country of great social, cultural, and geographical diversity, full of history, great artisans which create in vibrant colors, a hard-working people rich with deep traditions. This is an industrious people, and the cities are always bursting with energy. But outside the main cities, the rural farmer lives a very different life.
Malnutrition in Ecuador is becoming epidemic. Chronic malnutrition is at almost 30% and as high as 92% in children in the rural areas of this country and others like it. Almost 60% of children under 5 years of age are anemic. Almost 40% of the population is currently living in poverty. And extreme poverty is very high among rural families, which are mostly farmers.
There's no one more hardworking in the world than an Ecuadorian farmer. They work hours a day, and it's not to buy consumer goods or a nice dinner. It's just to buy the requisite amount of food to feed their family. And oftentimes they don't have enough cash to feed their family. And that's when they start skipping meals or skipping meat and valuable protein sources. This sinks them further into poverty because they don't have the nutritional basis to be productive.
We're never going to solve the poverty problems of the world until we begin to successfully address the problems of the small-scale farmers in the developing world. We need educational programs. We need nutritional programs. A well-fed child is more attentive in school. A well-fed child doesn't get sick as often. A well-fed child doesn't use the family's resources to try and buy health from inadequate medical service in these developing countries. And so if you can feed the family with its land resource by adding new technology that's appropriate to their circumstances, it becomes a very effective way of reducing illness, of improving the condition.
So this is one of the huge problems of dealing with nutrition in the developing world is people are hungry. They just don't eat enough food. Not alone nutritionally complete food, just not enough food. And gosh, there are nearly 1 billion people in the world who suffer from hunger. And this is very important, this is very apparent as you work in these villages.
SRA really drew my interest because it's kind of contrary to a lot of the philosophy I learned in college, in that it's teaching farmers to withdraw from the market, produce self-sufficiency, and then re-enter into cash cropping.
What we do is we work with rural farmers in third world countries, developing countries. And the reason we do that is they have a major problem. Their challenge on a small farm, which is the high majority of them, 800 million people in the world, is they all grow one crop on these small plots of land. And they buy the seeds, sell in the market at maturity, and middleman on both ends is part of the problem. But the major problem and challenge they have is they cannot compete with the efficiency of agribusiness today. Large ag business is very efficient, which makes food for the Western world very cheap, but it makes it to where they cannot compete.
The idea is compelling. And to me, it's particularly the idea of developing self-sufficiency at the farmer level, but it's a demonstration that feeds back into the institutions of the country itself, like what they're doing now in Peru and Ecuador. We are working on a text that integrates the concept of human nutritional requirements and quantitatively linking that to the amount of area that can supply a certain number of people. So essentially, if you have an acre or a half hectare of land, how many people can that support in terms of different age groups, parents and children, so that they can meet their nutritional requirements and be healthy enough that they can do something that gains cash flow and contribution to the larger economy.
Our mission is nutritional self-sufficiency. So what we do is we take them out of the market and we get the farmer on that same little plot of land, 2.5 acres or less, and we get them to grow a multi-crop scenario instead of a monocrop, meaning one crop. Everything they need to eat, they grow.
So I've always been excited about the work that they do because they're actually impacting lives, they're changing families and communities, and it's a long-lasting impact. It's not a little Band-Aid. It's a deep, long-term cure. It's a fix for some pretty dramatic problems, and I'm excited to do something or to be involved with a group that actually impacts lives in that way, totally changes lives.
As important to grow the people as it is to increase their yields of crops. And when people begin to grow, they are able to reach a point where they become self-reliant. They take on new opportunities, they see new opportunities, they're willing to be adventuresome because they're not right on the edge where the decision is made, will this compromise my chances for survival, to, will this actually make a difference in my life and the lives of my family so that their circumstances can be better than anything I've ever enjoyed.
The curriculum that SRA helped us put together involved not just agriculture and fertilization and irrigation, but also there's a small animal component where they found that, within the resources available to a small farmer, they can raise a few chickens or other small animals as protein sources that give them additional ways of protecting their children and their families against malnutrition, but also can provide them some additional revenue.
Cuando recién vino el proyecto, ellos encontraron pues que los niños estaban con desnutrición. Había niños muy desnutridos aquí en la escuelita. Y eso no le permitía que rindan en su trabajo. Pero a partir de que vino el proyecto, de que estas familias vinieron y nos ayudaron, más o menos a partir de esa época, tenemos aquí que ha habido un cambio, un giro de 360 grados en la escuela. Hoy los niños tienen mucha energía para trabajar, han mejorado su razonamiento en matemática, han mejorado en ciencias naturales. Nosotros tenemos aquí los huertos y ellos hacen las clases prácticas con sus propias manos y el maestro han cultivado todas estas hortalizas que les sirve de alimento.
The SRA has shown that they will move as quickly as we can allow them and as quickly as we can respond to our part of the deal. So, we've gone from conceptual discussions to we have herds of goats, flocks of chickens, schools of fish in our tilapia ponds. We have hundreds of rotational gardens being planted and prepared to feed these families immediately. And it's been 5 months, 6 months since our first conversations.
Malawi currently depends much on rain-fed agriculture because sometimes there may be droughts, and that tends to result in a situation whereby a lot of people don't have enough food to feed their families, and in addition to that, they don't have money to buy other needs that they may have. At the same time, sending kids to school may be a challenge. So the coming in of the self-reliant agriculture is very important, and I could say that it is well timed, because self-reliant agriculture, I believe, would help in ensuring that those families that are not able to meet their daily food needs and also other needs are able to do that.
You want to be part of this organization simply because it works. It helps families become nutritionally self-sufficient. We want them to have ownership in this program. The root of the problem is they cannot compete with ag business, so we take them out of that model, get their baseline of nutrition to their families, and they own the program when we leave. That's why you want to be part of this program.
Well, the people are committed. They're delightful to work with. They're very passionate, but disciplined. Again, wanting to help people. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Okay. They're not going down that path. They want to help by investing in knowledge. And so if you give people knowledge, they can make the decision themselves. So it's the 3 steps beyond if you give a man a fishing pole, he can feed himself versus giving him fish. They're going over to the stage of, well, you educate the kids of the farmer, and they design a fishing pole factory, and then they employ everybody in the village, and they can all fish and feed themselves. So it's they've gone a couple steps beyond giving a person a fish.
It's easy for me to encourage contributions to SRA because I've seen firsthand the benefits of the programs that they put forward, and we feel very passionately that the good that we're doing there is simply an extension of the good that SRA sets out to do. But those fundamental learnings, once they're put in the minds and the families that are in need around the world, are going to do tremendous good around the world. And so they can be, these concepts are portable throughout the earth. So wherever your passion is, partner up with SRA, and you'll find that great good will come from that. More good than you could do going out and trying to learn these things from the ground up.
As we think of the blessings that we enjoy in our own lives, we feel so much gratitude. We ought to. We are so blessed. And from that gratitude, we realize that we have more than enough to spare. We have abundance. And therefore, we want to give. And that has been my experience as people look at their lives and look at the gifts that they have and the blessings that they have. They naturally want to give. It's something that wells up inside of them, and it's part of who they are, and it's part of who they become.
This isn't just a theoretical do-gooder activity that we're about here, but that real people with real lives, with real children, beautiful children, children that you would, if they lived in your community, you would run into traffic. To rescue. And after having seen that, then they go back and they become powerful spokesmen for causes like the one that SRA is all about.
The need is now. The donor is the key to this whole program. Without the donor, we cannot do this.